Hello folks, in this video we will learn about Next.js 14 by building another to-do list application. So we will start by checking out the documentation. So this is the official documentation of Next.js and we will click on the get started section. So we have the introduction and what does it say? So Next.js is a React framework for building full stack web applications. You use React components to build user interfaces and Next.js for additional features and optimizations. Under the hood, Next.js also abstracts and automatically configures tooling needed for React like bundling, compiling, and more. This allows you to focus building on your application instead of spending time with configuration. Whether you are an individual developer or part of a larger team, Next.js can help you build interactive, dynamic, and fast React applications. And this is absolutely correct. Now you can read along and see what are the different things over here like routing, rendering, data fetching, and everything. But we will click on the installation section and start creating our app soon. So when I click on the installation section, we will see that how to set up our app. So we have to run this command in the terminal, npx create next app at latest, and then in the terminal it will ask us some questions like what is your project named. Then we have to give our project name and like do we want to use TypeScript, ESLint, Tailwind, CSS or no. So in everything we will click on yes, and that's it. Now all of this process is very slow, so I have already created that, but that's all you have to do. You have to run this command and click on yes to everything and you will be ready as me. And after everything is done, you simply have to go inside the app or whatever name you have given and write npm run dev and your app will start. That's all. So after you are done with this, you can follow along. So now inside my app folder, I have this src. And unlike React, Next.js follows like folder based routing. So what is it? We will see soon. Now inside this src, we have two tsx files. One is a layout.tx, like tsx, and another one is a page.tsx. Now if you see like closely, this page is actually being rendered from the page.tsx. So for example, we have here get started by editing. We have it here. And if I give an exclamation here, you will see that it will be reflected here. So if I refresh, and as you can see, we have an exclamation here. So this is this page, but what we will do is we will ignore all of these things, and inside the app we will create another folder, and let's name the folder as to-dos, and inside the to-dos I will create another page.tsx. Now these naming conventions are absolutely important, like you cannot name it something else like to-do.tsx or anything else, because it will not work. Now in my page.tsx, I will simply write some React component, like I will write RFC. I will remove this part, import React from React, it's not required. And let's say instead of the page, I can name it anything. So let me simply name as to-dos. And now I will show you, let me copy this one. I will go to a different tab and I will write /to-dos. And it will open one page with the name to-dos. Now it has some styles, and these styles are coming from the globals.css, but I will remove everything and you will have a white page with to-dos. And you can also use Tailwind over here. So in the div section, I will give class name text to Excel to make the text bigger. So this is how you can use Next.js. So everything like all the routes you should be keeping inside the app folder. Now parallel to the app folder, you can create few other folders for folders like additional things that are not directly related to the routing. So for example, I will create here one db config folder where I will keep my database stuff. So we will be using MongoDB here. So I will be keeping those things here. And also I will create another thing that is models, and here I will keep my models. And also there is one favicon.ico. This is the Vercel logo. We don't need this, so I will simply delete it. So that's all regarding the front end. Now for the back end, I have to create some backend routes. So how can I do that? So inside my app, now I will create another folder. I will name it API. And inside the API, I will create another folder. I will name it to-dos once again. And inside the to-dos, this time, I will create one route.ts file. And this will be our backend. Now, we will soon work on the route.ts. But first of all, let's try to create one basic layout of the to-dos page. and then we will move to the other files. So now in this file, everything will be like React. We have to create one to-do list, and that's all. So let's create it quickly. We have done it many times, so I hope it will be simple only right now. So first of all, let me just create one container like thing, and inside the container, first of all, I will have text, let's say to Excel, and this will be to-do list next, let's say, and save. Things will come automatically. And then we will have another container like thing where we will have our inputs. So input type will be text, placeholder will be enter to do, and now we have to like use like the on change and all of those things. So I will simply create something like some state variable. So input text, then set input text equals to use state, and I have to import those things. So at the top I will simply do import use state from React. Now it will throw one issue, and we will see why that issue comes soon. Use state, and that's all. And now let me simply do here value equals to my input text, and then on change will be, we will have access to e, and we will do set input text e dot target dot value. That's all. And now we have one issue. So you're importing a component that needs use state. It only works in a client component, but none of its parents are marked with use client. So what really happens here is that in next.js, so by default we have server components, but this use state and everything, these are client components. So what are client components and what are server components, we will see in details in a separate video. It will be more of a theoretical video, but to give you a brief idea is that what React does is that it loads our pages directly in the client. So all JavaScript, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, everything is loaded in the client. But for the next.js, it initially loads everything in the server, and then it returns the loaded files from the server to the client, and then additional information is added. To put it mildly, this is how it works. Now this use state is something that happens only in the client. So for example, we are taking input text, and here we need use state. In the server, this should not be happening. So we have to tell next.js specifically that we want to use this page.tsx in the client. So I will write use client at the top, and the issue will be gone. So if I now refresh, and we will see our to-do soon. So that's it. That's all. Right now, if it doesn't make sense to you, it's okay. You can simply follow along. And when we make more and more videos on next.js, and also maybe some theoretical videos, so we will get a better idea. Now, so this we have the input here, and then we will create two buttons. So, and the button will have also one class name, and this will be one add button. And next we will have one, let's say, clear button to clear the to-dos. Now let's also give some styles. So for the input, let me give a class name, and also let's give some styles to everything. So here let me give flex, then flex call, then items center, so that everything is centered. And then we also want to give some gap of, let's say, 8, and also some padding top of 8. Let me give some bg violet of 200, and then also let's say give some pb of 32, padding bottom of 32, and that's all. And text to Excel, that is fine. And then for the input, I want to give let me also close the left section to have some more space. And this is the input one, I believe. No, this is on top of the input. So for the input one, what do we need? Let's say we need text Excel. We want a bigger text, also rounded. We want the corners to be a little bit rounded, so let me give rounded MD. And let's also give some shadow, let's say shadow of MD. And also let me give some flex to the container and gap 2, so that we get little bit space between the buttons and the input. Now for every button, let me give some styles like text Excel, then shadow MD, Also, let's say bg blue of 600. For this button also, let me give text white and bg. So when we hover, we want the bg to be changed, so bg blue of 500, and also some rounded md, let's say. And let me give some px of 3 and py of 1. Now I think this is good. This add button looks fine to me, and I will simply copy this thing and paste it in the clear also. So copy and paste here, but I think there will be some issue. Okay, what issue? I think there is some syntax issue. So copy this thing and paste in the class name. Yeah, and now instead of the blue, let me give gray. Yeah, so now I think this is good, and we can also write here. Okay, so now let me create a space for the to-dos. So after this div, let me just minimize this. I will create another container for the to-dos, and here what do we want? So we will have some to-dos from some variables. So here let me just create another thing. Let's name it to-dos and then set to-dos, and this will be one empty array for now. So whenever we have some to-dos, we want to basically fetch from this array. So what do we want here? So we want basically something like to-dos dot map, and then inside we will have a to-do, and then also the index of the to-do. And when we have these things, what do we want to do? So we will have an arrow function, and here I will return like the individual to-dos. So let's say this is right now an empty array, but that will be one issue. So let me just keep 1 2 3 for now, only to see like how it looks like. So let's say we will have another container here for every to-do, and inside the container, first of all we need like the checkbox and the to-do description on the left hand side, and on the right hand side we need like two buttons, that is edit and delete button. So I believe we can do it by something like this. Like on the inside we will create two containers, and here we will have input checkbox, and I think we also need to add the value and those things, but maybe we can add those later. Input type checkbox, and then we will have a div, something like div, and inside the div let me simply write code for now. Other things we can give, and we will have another one, and here we will have two buttons. So button, first one will be edit, and let me simply just copy the button class name here, and I will paste the same things in for those buttons also. So let me just paste it here, and also something similar for a delete. Okay, not this way, these three lines we have to copy paste. So here we will have delete, that's all, not deletes, delete. And also let me give flex and then gap of 2. For the edit one, we will change the color from blue to green, and for the, let's say, delete one, we will change the color from blue to red. Okay, now it looks terrible, so we will change those things. Also, let's not make this button so big. So px3 py of 1, let me just only give px of 1. That's all. Okay, so now for the top level also, let me try to give some, let's say, some styles. So let me give bg violet of 600. Okay, and then what else can we give? Let me also, like, we need to give flex, justify between, and also items center. Okay, I think let me also give the flex here, and then if required gap of 2. Everything is stacked now, but I'm sure this can be changed if at the top level we simply increase the width. So let me just give the width as let's say 5/6 of the screen. So now these things will be bigger. And apart from this, let me also simply do flex call and then gap of 2. I think this is good. And for the individual to dos, I will add few more things. So let's say I want padding of 2, and I also want rounded of, let's say, well, large. I think now this is fine. Let me also give, let's say, shadow of LG. I think MD is fine. Yeah. Okay, we can live with this. And also we have this right code here. So I will give text of, let's say, LG, and then also text of white. Okay, good enough. So I think we can have to do like this. Okay, so our to-do design is more or less ready. Only thing that is left to do is whenever we are clicking on these things, some functions will be called, and maybe we can do it when we are also like writing the backend routes. Yeah, that's all. And also one more thing that need to be added, and that is whenever we are clicking on the edit, let's say, we want a different page to load. That is one edit page which will allow us to edit the specific to do. And for that reason, I will just create another variable. I will name it edit mode. There is a previous video when we have made a to-do list in a similar way. We are doing the same thing. So edit mode and then set edit mode. If you have watched this video, then good. Otherwise, you can simply follow along. And by default, this will be false. Now, when let's say we have edit mode is true, then we want to return some different kind of page. So how can we do that? So right now the edit mode is false. So let me just write something like this. If true, I want this thing to be rendered, and it will be rendered. That is because, I mean, we have true here. So what we want, so initially let me do it something like this, and here text to Excel, let me write edit mode. So we have something like this, and which is fine. Now what do we want to do? First of all, let me just copy this whole thing and paste it here. And we have the similar kind of styles, and instead of edit mode, let me write edit to do here. And then let me just write what else do we need. So we need let's say another container, and inside the container we need let me just write another heading type of thing, edit description, and then one input. This input will be type text, placeholder, enter, new, DSC, and it will also have some value and some like on change. We will add that one. And after this edit to do, we need another thing, and that is for the checkbox. So let me just give another, also let me just put these things under container kind of thing. So okay, it's already kept inside container, so we don't need any more. Like, so for the next one also we need another thing. Let me just write edit completed. This will be the checkbox, and then we will have input, type will be checkbox, and I think that's all. And now let me also like give some minimal styles here so that it looks little bit better. So for the edit description and those things, let me just give here flex and then gap of 4, let's say. Okay, now for the edit description, let me just make it bigger, so text LG. Okay, and for the input also, let me give some class name and minimal styles like rounded MD, shadow MD, like we did last time, and text LG. I think good enough. And now for the checkbox, something similar. So we will give like flex, and then gap of 4, let's say, and then here again text.lg. And for the checkbox, we don't need any styles or anything, not really required. And lastly, we will have one button, and the buttons have like similar styles. So I will simply copy this thing, and after this one, we will simply have the button. Instead of the delete, this will be submit, and this will be a little bit, let's say, it will have some thickness. Let me make it blue, and px3 py1. I think we can live with this, so let's leave it at this, and let's go back to not go back to, like, let's try to create some backend. So if this one is the edit mode, and by default it is false, so we have this page. So now what should we do with the backend? So let's see. So we have the route.ts inside my API, and then inside my to-dos. But before let's say creating the routes, let me just create the db config file and the models, because we want our to-dos to be stored inside one MongoDB database. So let's write the db config. Like here we will write one db.js, and JS is fine for this, so we don't need a TS file. And let me just write. So first of all, we will import mongoose from mongoose. I think these things are not installed, so I will simply install mongoose. So npmi mongoose, and maybe we need few more things. For now, let me simply install mongoose, so we will see what else do we need. And I think there is an issue here, and that is we are installing everything inside the like to-do list, the root folder. We have to install these things inside our next. So let me just delete these things. It was kind of a blunder. Let me delete these things, and yeah, continue. And here let me simply go inside my app, cd app, and here I will install mongoose. Now I will import mongoose from mongoose, and now I will create one function. So export async function connect, and the name suggests that this function will connect with our database. Inside we will have a try catch, and let's write the catch part first. This is very simple, and that is let's say failed to connect to db, and then let me just simply console log error. That's all. And inside the try part, I will do mongoose dot connect, and let's say I will have my MongoDB URL from some like environment variable. So process.env.mongo URI. We have to create this file, but let's say we have it, and then we will simply do mongoose.connection.on. This is testing that we are connected or not connected, and if connected, we simply want to log this thing. So log of connected to db. That's all. Now let me also create one env, and env here, and inside I will create this MongoDB URI. So mongo underscore URI equals to some empty string for now, and we will go to our MongoDB and see what we can do. So this is our MongoDB in the the official website of MongoDB, and we have created some projects here. So you can also create. I have created many things, many to-do apps, as you can see, but this is inside my project 0, and let's say I want to connect to this project, and then we can create our database and everything. So I will click on connect. It's not working for some reason, not sure why. And also let me just show you, we have some collections here already, like to-dos, next user db, and many other things, but we will simply create another collection. So let me just go to overview, Let me put this in full screen and then connect. Yeah, so we will use drivers. So we will create our collections in the web only, but you can also use like MongoDB Atlas if you have downloaded in your desktop. So I will copy this string. I will go back to my my code, and here I will simply paste this thing. So after the slash and the question mark, here I will create my my DB name. So I will write next to-do list YT for YouTube, and in place of my password I will give my password ABCD1234. Yeah, so that's all. So our db.js is done, and then we will create one model for the to-dos. So let me just create one to-do.js here, and here what we need to do, we need to create a schema and then one model and then export. That's all. So again, import mongoose from mongoose, and then we will do const to do schema equals to new mongoose dot schema, and then inside I will have ID. The type will be string, and then required will be true, and then unique will also be true. That's all. And then we will have a description DSC. Type will be string, and required will be true. We need the description. I mean, that's all we have. True. Lastly, we have completed, and here the type will be boolean, and we don't need a required, we need a default. So default will be false. In case we don't push it, it will be false. So that's all. And then we will create one model. So let me simply write const to do equals to. So now MongoDB is not like Express, so which is always connected to the backend is always on. So whenever we are running the app and we need something, MongoDB connects to the database and then disconnects. So what we need to do is we need to first check whether some model already exists or not. So ideally we do it something like this. So mongoose.model, and inside we will create some, let's say, to-dos, and then we will pass the to-do schema. That's all. But what we need to do is let's say in case this model already exists, we need to do mongoose dot models dot to-dos. If this thing exists, then use this, otherwise create and use. That's all. And lastly we need to do export default to do. That's all. Now we can go to our route.ts and start working on it. So inside my app, inside my API, inside my to-dos, we have a route.ts, and what do we need to do here? So in my page.tsx, I have created my front end. Now ideally, no, sorry, not this one. This is the home page. I mean this page, not this one. We have a to-dos, and inside we have a page.tsx, and here we have our to-do list, this one. So after the use state, we will also import one use effect. And what is happening, what will happen is, so when the app loads, like any to-do list app, like any app, to-do list app or any app made in React, it will call some use effect and it will try to get all the data from the backend. So there will be one route for the get, something like this, you can imagine. So for that reason, inside my API to-dos route, let me first of all import few things that we need in Next.js. So first of all, we need a next request, and then next response. So you can say that, Next.js does the job of both React and Express. We don't need Express or anything. And then we also need to import the connect, because we need to connect with our database from, and we can write something like this. Inside the src, we will use this @1 @, and then we will go to then db config, and then my db. Also, one more thing is that in case you have messed up while creating your app, so for example here, if you have not clicked on this this one, then it will be a problem. You should choose the @ or the star. I mean, depending on it, you have to write from where you want to import. That's all. So we have imported the connect, and then we also need to import the to do from my at models, and then to do. That's all. And lastly, let's say we also need UUID v4, because we need to create some random IDs also. So now we also need these libraries, so let me just install them. So we need npm UUID, and we also need Axios for making the requests and everything. Like you can also use fetch, but I would prefer to use Axios. So let me just install these things. It is installing. Meanwhile, let me just call the connect one to connect to the database, and then let's create one function. So export async function, and now you again have to follow some syntax. So let's say I want one GET request at this route API to do's, and so we have to write the name of the function as GET. That's all. You cannot give like any name to the functions. So this is something you have to keep in mind. And then let's say inside we have a request, and the type of the request will be next request. In case you are using JSX and like JavaScript and not TS, this thing will not be required. Like this is a TypeScript syntax. So this will be of the type next request. And then inside we will have a try catch, and the catch part will be more simple. So we will return one next response, then we will do JSON, and inside we have to pass a message. So let me write one message: issue happened, and let me give the status code as 500, the most terrible error. That's all. Also one exclamation sign, like they should be surprised to see this. That's all. And now in the front end, what do we need? So first of all, we have to get all our to-dos from the database. So how can we do that? So ideally we do it something like this. So const to-dos equals to await, and we have a to-do dot find, and we will not pass anything. That's all. And you can also check it out by logging the to-dos, and then we have to return one next response, something similar .json, and then inside my message let me write found all to-dos. Also then let me give success as true, and also pass the to-dos. That's all. Now nothing will happen because we are not really calling this from the front end, but we can actually do it. So we have this thing here, and also to show you that this thing works, I will just copy this thing, create another tab, and here I will go to API/routes, and you will see something very interesting. It may take some time to load, but once it loads, so you will have the backend route over here. Okay, anyway, since it loads, so let me also go to the page.tsx, and let me just create another async function over here, and this function will basically get all our to-dos. So anyway, as you can see, this thing has loaded. So found all to-dos, success true, and to-dos is empty, so we have nothing. And as you can see, connected to DB in the console also, so our database connection works and everything works. So now we just need to create the backend routes, and then accordingly fetch those things from the front end. So that's all we need. So now we are in our front end, and what do we need to do over here? So let me just call one use effect. Actually we don't need the get to do's like this. So inside my use effect I will have few things. So I will have axios.get, and then we will have my API/to-dos, and after it gets something, we will do it. Then we will have access to some response, and I think there are some errors like Axios error, this error, that error, and this is normal because we need to import Axios from Axios. And also there is another issue. I think it will throw some error, and that is it is not actually /API/routes. We have to define the base URL. So I will go to my homepage.tsx, and at the top once again I will import Axios. So import Axios from Axios, and here I have to actually define my base URL. So how can we do that? We can simply write axios.defaults, then base URL equals to my HTTP localhost 3000, and yeah, that's all. Now this thing will work. So I will go back to my to-dos route, and inside my to-dos, so I will then have a response. Okay, these things are throwing errors, and that is because we still have some issues. So yeah, what do we need to do? So we will have some response, and then let me simply do console log the response. That's all, and let's see what we get. Right now these things are throwing some errors, but these things will be console. And also yeah, so let me just open the inspect one, and let's see what we have. Console, and if I simply refresh once again, so we have some data. And if I expand, I see data, and I have found all to-dos, success true, and to-dos is empty. So this is correct. So I can simply console log resp.data. And after this one, we also need to do another thing. Also, there is another issue after the use effect. I need to give the empty square brackets also. So now if I refresh, actually we will get it like this only. So we have the object of found all to dos. So like whatever is our response, we have that. And also one more thing we need to do is we also need to basically set our to dos. So that is something we need to do. So how can we set? We can simply do set to dos, and we want to set this to dos array that we see here. Right now it's 0, but it will be 1 2 3 4 when we have the logic. So I simply want to write resp.data.todos, something like this. So you can say that our use effect works, but right now we don't have any data. And let me also remove the 1 2 3, and it will be 0 for now. Yeah, so now the most important thing is we need to create one post route, and then it will seem like that our to-do list is working. So let me just create another function in the route.ts, and also let me close the left section to have some more space. So I will do export async function post. Like we have the get, we will have the post, and we will have a request is next request, and then let me also keep it below. Okay, so again we have a try catch, and in the catch section I will simply copy this thing and paste here. So issue happened, we don't care, but there is some issue. So okay, anyway, and in the try section we first of all need the body that we will be sending. So for every post request we know that we have a body. So let's say we have that as reg body, and we have to get it like this. So it will be request.json. And now we can simply destructure. So we can do desc equals to reg body, and that's all. And we can also simply do a console log of dsc only to see that it works. And lastly we need to add these things inside our database, and that's all. So let me just write new to do equals to my new to do, and here we will have an id, and we will simply use v4. I think some dogs are causing some issue, so let me just attend to them, and then I'll be back soon. Okay, so we have id of v4, and then we will also have the description, and lastly we will have the completed as false. So we have the new to do, and then we also need to save our to dos. So we will write, let's say, const saved to do equals to await of new to do dot save. I think that's all. And lastly we also need to return these things. So return we will have next response dot json, and inside we will have a message, let's say to do added, and then also success is true, and lastly let me also send the save to do. That's all. So now if I let's say try to add something, right? Actually we cannot add, and that is because we have not written anything in our like front end. So how to add to-dos? So actually we will not be having a function called get to-dos. So instead of that, let me just write a function called add to-do. Actually we can also test from Postman. Okay, let's just do that once. So here we have localhost 3000/API/routes. If write code, let me just click on send, and it's sending request, and we see that is to do is added and save to do is this one. So now if I go back to my next, if I refresh, we should be having something at least. Yeah, so we have write code. That means it works, and the array has length 1, and if I expand, we will have this thing. So underscore id, which is the default MongoDB id, and then we have id, and I mean we will have it. So we have description, write code, and completed as false. So this is correct, this is correct. Now let me just try to do the same using the add button over here. So how can we do that? So first of all, let me just create one data. So the data will have a description, and what will be the description? That will be input text, that's all. And then let me just create a response variable, because when we do a post we will have a response. So await axios.post, and we will post to /API/to-dos, and we will send the data, that's all. And then let me simply log the resp, that's all. So let me just clear out everything, and here I will do one, let's say write code, let's say read code. I mean reading code is also very important. You can see how other people read everything. Okay, anyway, whatever is the case, the reason nothing is happening is because we have not added this function to my add button. So let me simply let me minimize this for now, and here we will have our add button. So here I want to do one on click, and we will execute this function add to. And also, since we are here in the clear also, I want to add the on click of, let's say, clear to do's. And if we don't want to get any errors, we have to do one async function clear to do's here also. Okay, anyway, so now let's see, if I click on add, we have something. So we have data, to do edit, read code, so we have it. So if I refresh, we will have both. Okay, so for some reason we have write code, and that is because here we need to give todo.description instead of todo.dsc instead of that. So now we have write code and read code. And also one more thing, after the checkbox we will have checked equals to my to-do dot completed. I mean right now both are false, but this is how it should be. Okay, anyway, so it means that it works. So we have we are getting to-dos, we are also adding to-dos. So now the next thing is my clear all button. So whenever we are clicking on it, everything should be removed. So how can we do that? So let me go back to my route.ts, and here after the post I will write another function, and that function will be one delete function. So export async function delete, and we will have a request. It will be type of next request, and here we will again have a try catch, and the catch part is more simple. So I will simply keep the next response here. Now what do we want to do in the in the try part for the delete? Actually this one is very simple. It will only be one line, and that is await await. I will have to do dot in Mongoose we have something called delete many, and that's all we need. And then we need to return something. So let me just copy this one only, and instead of to do added, I will give to do's cleared, and no other data apart from like the to do's cleared and success true. So now inside my to do.js, not here, Let me close these two also. It's not required also the env and global css. I will go back to my page.tsx. I will have to write the clear to do's function now. So what do we need to do here? And this is also very simple. We will have const resp equals to await axios dot post to my basically API slash to do's, and that's all. There's nothing else we need. And lastly, you can simply console log rest dot data, and one more thing you can do is you can do the set to do's as an empty object. You will get the result immediately. Actually, in the add to do's also you can technically add the extra to do's. So okay, anyway, let me just refresh this page. We will have two to do's. Okay, I think we have cleared that. That's why. Okay, no, we have to. It's just taking some time to load the to do's. That's all. So when I click on clear, okay, there is one error. Let's see what is the error. And the error is request ended with this. Let's try to find out what is the issue. So in our node app, do we have any issue? No, we have lots of console logs. So let me see, let me try to find out what is the issue. So in the backend we have delete request next request, and inside my try part I'm doing delete many, and then I'm simply sending like to do cleared and success true. So there is no issue in this part, like I don't see any. So in my front end, let me try to see if we have an issue or not. Not here. So we are doing a clear to do's here on click clear, that is fine. And then inside my clear to do's, what we are doing? So we are doing one const resp of await axios dot delete. Actually this should be delete. This should not be post. This is the issue. So delete. Now refresh. Let it load, and then we will clear, and let's see what happens. So ideally it will take some time. Yeah. So now let me click on clear, and it's gone. So that means it works. So our clear to do's are also working. Let me add something. Write JS, add, refresh, and here for the add also, let me just try to update in the function only. So I will simply do set to do's. So we will have access to the previous to do's. So we want to return, we will have all previous to do's, and after that let me simply do something like this. Actually I believe this is not the right way, but still we can actually do it. Input text, because we will not be having access to the ID. That is the thing. But okay, anyway, for when the page loads again, like in the next render, it will get everything from the use effect. I mean, it's just a temporary thing. But anyway, completed will be false. So now if I do, let's say, write Python, and why are these guys throwing errors? Let me try to find out. Previous to do's. Okay, some issue with types, maybe add. So Python is added, and clear, everything is clear. We have to do clear success true. Add, Python is added, JS added, refresh, things will load as usual. I mean, it's fine. Some issue with types, so maybe because of that missing ID and something. Okay, anyway, let's leave it at that. We can fix these things later. Now, more important thing that we need to see is that how can we actually edit or delete individual to-dos. So right now in our backend section, we were deleting or like editing, not editing, like adding, deleting. So we were basically hitting this API to-dos route. So we are not specifically trying to hit one individual to-do. So how can we do that? Let's try to find the route. So we have API to-dos and then route.ts. So inside my to-dos, what we need to do is we need to create another folder, and we have to name it like this, and like square brackets of ID, because we want to hit the to-dos with the ID. And then inside we will create another route. So let me create route.ts. So this is what we need to do. And now if I simply do something similar, so let me just copy this part. So we have all the imports, we have the connect and we have a get, but this is for get everything, but we will change something here. So let's say we want to get few things here. Let me simply comment these lines out, and let me also remove the to-dos part. And now I will show you what happens when I try to get to-dos /2, let's say, and it will open one page. Okay, it's saying that not found because we have to add the API here. So /API to-dos 2, and you will see another backend route. So message found all to-dos, our success is true. So this is how we can hit one page with some dynamic routes. So now we will see how we can get in like the info of individual to-dos, also edit as well as delete. So first of all, we have to find out that how can we know what is the dynamic route that we are sending. So how can we know that? So let me just try to find the route in a way, like let me just try to console log the request and let's see what do we have inside. So let me just refresh this page, and in my backend I will have a lot of things. So here I will have something called path name, and in this path name we have API to-dos 2. So from this path name we can actually get what we are hitting. Because in next request we generally don't have these params that we used to have in Express that used to make our lives easy, but unfortunately we will not be having this here, so we have to break this thing. So how can we break this thing? So let's say instead of the request I'm trying to print something like this, request.next.url and then the path name. Then you will see that we are hitting exactly this path name. So let me just refresh this page, and if I go down you will see API to-dos 2. So we are getting it. So to get the 2 from this this whole thing, I will write another function, and let me name the function as get id from path name, and we will have a string as the argument, and inside let's say we have parts, and I am basically splitting by the slash, and then we will basically return the last one. So I will return parts and then s dot length -1. That's all. So now here what do I want to do is I want to have the path as this thing, that is request dot next url dot path name, and then I want my id equals to, this will be get id from path name, that is this function, and I will pass my path. So now if I simply log my id, I will have my id. So let me just refresh this one, and let me also remove these lines. Refresh this page once again. Okay, for some reason we are getting these things as undefined. This thing is a bit strange. Let me just try to log the path here also, and let's see if things are working correctly or not. And also let me log the parts here, because maybe there is some small issue or something. So now let me just refresh. So first one is this one, second one is this. So this should not be s.length, this should be parts.length. Now this will be correct. So let me remove this, and now the id will be correct one. So let me just refresh, and you will see it is 2. Yeah, so this works. So let me just remove the id, and let's see how we can get the to-do details. So let's say we will have a to-do, and this to-do will be from the to-do we will try to find one by the id. So in this way we will have the to-do, and we can also log the to-do to see we are getting it or not. And then in the next response after the success, let's say we want to send the to-do also. So now if I, let's say, refresh, so to-do null, and that is because possibly there is no to-do with the id of 2. So when we have some to-dos with the correct id, We will see it works or not. But ideally in the front end also, we don't really need to get the to-dos like individual to-do information. It is not really required. So the things that are required in the front end are basically my put and my delete, like basically the deleting and the editing for these two buttons. So let me just do the delete one first, because that is more simple. So export async function delete, and then we will have request, which will be of the type next request, and then we will have a try catch here. In the catch part, I will simply copy this thing and paste here, and in the try part for the ID also, I will basically copy these two lines and paste here. We have the ID now, and then what we need to do. So I will simply do await to do dot delete one, let's say, and we want to delete one by the ID. So now we can simply return my next response, not request, response dot json, and the message will be, let's say, to do deleted, and then success is true, and let's see it works or not. And there is some error or something, an argument for body was not provided. Not sure, I mean it's some silly error, I would say. Okay, now we also need to create this delete thing in the front end. So let me just try to do this thing. So for the individual to-dos, after the button, I will create one on click over here, and what do we need to do? So I will simply create one function. I will name it as delete to do, and at the top I need to create this function also. So async function delete to do, and how to delete this to do, that's all. So let's say we will have access to one E and also the to do, because this is being rendered from inside the to do's map, so we have access to these things. So now how can we delete? So that is actually simple. First of all, the ID will be to do.id, and then we have to like basically create one response from the await axios.delete, and we want to hit this out API / to-dos, and then the specific ID that we have for the to-do, and I would say that's all. And we can also basically log the resp.data. So now let's see it works or not. So if I click on delete, let me clear out everything. If I click on delete here, okay, it has some error, and let me try to find out what is this error. So it doesn't know what this to-do.id is, and let me just refresh and let's see why it doesn't know. I mean, it should be knowing this, because every to-do has some ID. Maybe that is because of this one, because we are not adding the IDs, and it is causing some issue maybe. So we will try to fix this thing by commenting these lines out. And so let me just comment them out and save. And now I will refresh this page, and then we will clear all, add few to-dos, and then see our delete works or not. Clear. Okay, write code, add, and then read code, add, refresh. We have write code and read code, and we have array 2. Inside the to-dos we have ID, we have the IDs, so we should be having the IDs. So delete. We still have one error, and this error is let me try to see, cannot read ID. Very strange error, because ideally we should be able to read to-do.id. Maybe because we are not sending it correctly. So we are sending it like this, we have to send it in this way. This should be delete to do, and then inside we will pass the E and also the to do. Now this is correct. That was all the issue, actually, not this one. We can uncomment this. This is actually good. Okay, so we have everything here once again. And now if I click on delete, okay, error once again. Okay, E is not defined. Okay, let's say we don't need the E. Let me just remove the E. To do. Let me just remove the E. No need for this. Okay, now it will work. Let me click on, let's clear everything, click on delete. I think, yeah, to do deleted, success true. Let me refresh and you will only find one to do. So yeah, it was a bit of a hassle. I believe next.js is also like little bit slow compared to React, but it will work. Okay, class name did not match server. I don't know what kind of errors are coming here. Let me refresh and let's see once again. Yeah, so as you can see, we will have only one. Okay, so it works. So the other one, write Python or something, that got deleted. So it works. And lastly, we will create the put route. A little bit complex, but we can cover it very well. So put, we will have request equals to next request, and then once again we will have try catch, and the catch part is more simple. So inside my try part, what do we need to do? Once again we will copy these two lines, that is path and id. We will paste here, and what do we need to do now? We need to basically, yeah, actually for this one we also need to do another thing. We need to get our information from the body also. So we will do something like this: const rect body, like how we did, equals to await request dot json, and then we will get our description and complete it from my rect body. That's all. And lastly we need to basically edit, like update. So await to do dot, we will use update one. And how do we want to update? So we want to update by, like, basically we want to superimpose these three things: id, description, and completed. So wherever, like, it will search by id, and then it will automatically update the description and completed, because I mean that's how it will do. So okay, anyway, and we also need to return something. So let me just copy this thing, paste here. Let me write to do edited, and success true. That's all. Okay, for some reason there is some issue over here, and that is because it should be outside the JSON. That's all. Okay, so now in my front end, once again I need to create these things, and creating it will actually be a little bit complex, but not too much. So what can we do? So let's say whenever in my front end we are clicking on the edit, we are hitting some function. Let's call that function as edit to do. And what do we want to do in my edit to do? And it should also be something like this. So we want to pass my to do here. So now let's create this edit to do one. So after the delete to do, let me just create one async function edit to do, and here we will have the to do. So first thing in the edit to do is it will change the edit mode. So right now the edit mode is false, so it will do set edit mode to true. So now let's see, if I click on the edit here, it will go to this page. So edit mode is true, but right now we don't have the description and the completed these things here, so we need to add these things next. And to do that I have to create like another state variable, and I will name this that let's name it edit to do info. So this is the to do info in my edit mode. So set edit to do info, and by default let's say this will be one object with my ID as empty string, then my description also as an empty string, and lastly my completed as false. So I will do empty string and then the completed as false, and that's all. And yeah, so after we have changed this to the edit mode as true, we need to do something with the edit information. So what can we do? So let me try to do it like this. So set edit to do info, and here inside the ID I will make it as to do.id, like whatever to do we assign, and then description will be to do.dsc, and then lastly the completed will be to do.completed. That's all. And then let's say we have these things here, and I think that's all for this one. So we are clicking on the edit, we have these things loaded, we are coming to this page, and in this page we have another submit button. So what do we need to do here? So first of all, let me do it like this. Let me expand the edit mode, and in the edit mode we have an input, and in input for the value section I will add my edit to do info.dsc, so it will have write code by default. And then we need one on change. So this on change will be a little bit tricky, so it will have access to E, and then we need to do the set edit info, set edit to do info, and inside we will have, first of all, the object will be destructure. So edit to do info, and then we basically want to change the description, that's all. So dsc will be e.target.value, other things will be as it is. And similarly for the checkbox also, checked will be my, it will be equals to my basically edit to do info dot whatever is the completed, true or false. And the on change will be again something similar, E implies true, and then set edit to do info, whatever is that, set edit to do info, the edit to do info will be destructured, edit to do info, and then we will basically have our completed. That will be simply the opposite of what we have. So edit to do info dot completed. So this is how the values will be saved, and now we need to basically put the same things inside, that's all. So in my submit it will have another on click, and it will have another function. So let me just name the function as update to do. So on click update to do, I think it should be update to do, not to do update. We have not created the function, so update to do could have also been fine, but anyway. So update async function update to do. We don't have access to anything, but that's fine because everything is stored inside the state variable. Now here I will have a data, and this data will be my ID will be basically to do.id, and then my description will be actually not like this. It will not have the ID, it will have the description, and this will not be to do.that. That is because we don't have access to the to do variable here. It will be edit to do info.dsc, and then completed will be my edit to do info dot completed, and I think that's all. And then we will have resp equals to await axios dot put, and inside this put we will have API to do's and then the ID, and we will also pass the data, and we can also basically log my resp, and lastly set edit mode to false. And I think there is some error because we don't have access to any ID. It will be edit to do info, edit to do info dot id. That's all. So now let's see we can do something or not. So let me just do something like this, write code exclamation and then edit completed like this, submit, and we don't see much changes right now. Refresh. As you can see, this is edited. Let me add few more to dos. Read code, add. This is read only, we cannot change. We can go to edit and read. Instead of read code, let me write read next. Edit completed as true, submit, and right now it is read code. We can refresh and it will be changed to I think there is some issue. Found all to do success true. Let me try to edit as true, submit. Okay, one error. I think request failed with status code 500. I think there is some issue in the backend, maybe in that case. Let me try to find that out. What is the issue? So we are getting ID from this, that request body, request.json disk, and okay. Okay, so let me just refresh. Okay, let me try to edit one by one because ideally there should be no issues. Read next. Actually that is correct only. I think the order has been flipped, that's all. Edit completed. Let me just change this thing to false. Refresh. So as you can see, read next, this thing is gone. And then read code, let me change this thing to write code so that it's, you know, it's very much visible. Okay, I think we have closed this thing or something. Yeah, some issue we did. To do's. Yeah, so now edit. Let me do write next. Let me remove the exclamation, submit. Let's see, we have write next, so it works. And for the read code, let me just make it write code so that it's visible. I mean, it's not a minor change. And edit completed should be true. Okay, I think we have some issue with this completed thing. So whenever we have this thing, let's say put, we have ID, description and completed, so it is not able to find out that, you know, how we can basically change these things. So it is not searching by anything unique, so that is why we are facing this issue. So that is one small minor thing that we need to fix, and fixing that is actually very simple. So here we have ID and everything stacked together, so we can write it something like this. So after the ID we will close the curly brace here, and here we will have another curly brace. Inside we will have $set, and we will have this description and completed stacked together. So now it will search by ID, and then it will basically set these things. So in the previous case, in case two to-dos have the same description or completed, which is very much possible, like both could have false or true, so it will cause lots of issues. So actually this is the correct syntax, so right now nothing will happen. So I can simply do, let's say, read Python, submit. If I refresh, you will see that I have read Python. Let me just try to change something radical. Instead of write code, let me simply write Gary Oak. Edit completed, not true. Like Gary Oak is not a to do, we all know that. If we refresh, we will have Gary Oak, and this is changed. And instead of read Python, let me simply write #catchem. Again, not a to do. Submit, refresh. We will have #catchem and Gary Oak. So that means it works. Now to add the refresh button, I will leave it up to you that if you want, you can also add that. like it will be automatically refreshed when we are clicking on the submit, and not very difficult. So now I would like to end the video at this right now. So I hope you have all got some brief, like basic idea how like Next.js works. So it's basically in one single route we are handling the front end and back end and everything. So there will also not be any cost issue or anything. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.